Hey guys, welcome to Rosie's Dessert Spot. In this tutorial I'll be teaching you how to make a 2-tier torched meringue cake. So I'm starting off with the filling. I'm making a bit of whipped cream here, adding in some vanilla extract and some powdered sugar, starting it on slow to make sure I don't get a face full of icing sugar, and then turning up to high until I get nice stiff peaks. Place that into a piping bag and with a spatula just kind of spread it on my cake board. That'll ensure that my sponge cake sticks to the cake board. Center it, press it down, and then create a ring of cream around the edge of your cake. This will make sure that your custard doesn't seep out over the edges. So adding my custard, and I have a recipe for this in the description box below. Using my offset spatula, just making sure to flatten all that out. And add on your fresh berries. I've used fresh raspberries, blackberries and strawberries. Just pressing that in to make sure that my cake touches the custard. Once I put on the second layer. And then continue this process up the cake. So your ring of fresh cream, your custard and your berries. And this kind of reminds me of a pavlova cake but with a sponge. It's really, really yummy. Then using that same fresh cream, just kind of spreading it over the top and over the sides just to make sure that we can trap any loose crumbs. And that way they won't make it into our final layer of frosting. Give it a bit of a clean up and bring those edges into the center of the cake, and I'll pop that into the freezer just in the meantime. It'll only stay in there for like 10 minutes. Then do the exact same thing for your top tier. I've used a 5-inch cake here on a 4-inch cake board because I didn't have a 5-inch cake board, but I would recommend putting it on the same size cake board and following the exact same process. So my top tier is a 5-inch and my bottom tier is a 7-inch. Cleaning up the sides, and if you see any kind of holes poking through where cream's a bit missing, just add some in, press it in there. And then to support the weight of the cake on the 7-inch, I've put in 2 very large straws and just cutting in where the cream sort of marked them. So they're sitting a little bit below the cake. Then place your second cake on top, make sure it's nice and centered. And I noticed it was a little bit lopsided, so I added in a little extra cream on one side just to even that off. And then create a bit of a crumb coat. Same process, bit of cream at the top, push out to the sides, and gently and lightly coat your sides. Now for the meringue frosting, I've got my egg here, just separating the yolk from the egg white, and then adding that into the mixing bowl one at a time to make sure that there's no yellow contaminating. Add in a pinch of salt and whiz that up on high till you get those sort of white bubbles forming, and then add in your icing sugar a tablespoon at a time. And then let it run for about 5 to 7 minutes or until you get these nice stiff peaks. It should look something like this. Then I place that into a piping bag fitted with a 6B Wilton tip, and I'm just creating these shells across the bottom of the cake. And I'm making sure to start my new layer of shells in between the 2 previous shells, so they're sort of alternating like that. And continue this all the way up the cake. And the recipe for all of this will be in the description box below. So you can notice here I'm doing my best to keep it, the new layer of shells to start in between the previous 2 layers, the previous 2 shells. And then go on top of the cake, start on your second tier, and then once you reach the very top of your second tier, we'll just do a ring. Then a swirl right in the center, and I'm using my little spatula here just to cover up where I can see cake. So I'm pressing it underneath the shell and then pulling it over, and that way it hides the cake. Then I'm using my really fun little blowtorch here, and I'm going pretty close to the cake. Maybe I'm about a good 7-10 centimeters away from the cake, and I'm rotating the torch, and I'm working very quickly because you don't want to linger over it too long or you'll end up burning it. And when you get to the very bottom of the cake, be mindful of the cake board because that is highly flammable, so you do not want to be lingering over that for too long. And then just continue all around the cake. And do your top tier as well. Now I'm not a pyromaniac, but I gotta say I really, really, really enjoyed decorating this cake. It is so much fun with the blowtorch. So much fun. Do the very top as well. And you're done. Now to decorate, I've used some fresh flowers. I've used some carnations here. Just poking that into the cake. Make sure to wash them first. And here I've used just some leaves that I bought from the florist. Having said that though, I had a lemon tree. I don't know why I paid money for leaves when, you know, we have trees in abundance here. But decorate with whatever you like. And you're done. So you make a torch meringue cake decorated with some fresh flowers. The meringue sort of texture, the way that it's shaded all depends on the piping tip that you use or the pattern that you kind of put onto your cake. So the more thinner and the more raised your pattern, the more contrast you will have. So if you want like a really flat sort of contrast and you wouldn't really put a pattern, you just mask it kind of smoothly, but try to do it like a bit of a rough effect. That way you do get a bit more shades happening as well. It's definitely something different. Originally I did want to do like a ruffle with a 104 tip, so ruffling upwards, but then I thought, I don't know, I think this would be something a little more almost beachy like. I don't know, something that you'd see at the beach kind of gives me that sort of impression. But yeah, it's a very easy one to do, very fun to do. Hope you guys enjoyed watching it, maybe give it a shot. And yes, I will catch you next time. Thanks for tuning in, guys.